We're missing a few councilmen who will be popping in here in just a few minutes. First order of business is discussion and presentation from Chris Huston. Next link on the deployment and installation progress throughout Lampasas.
Everybody hear me? Okay. First off, thanks for having me. My name is Chris Hopkins. I'm going to represent NextLink tonight. Live here, love Lampasas. Have a little bit of a biased opinion about Lampasas and the things that we're doing here. So, excuse me for that, some aspects. So, first off, just a little bit of a background. It's been a while since I've given an update or given any sort of talking presentation to a city council member. So I want to start off with some of the why. You know, obviously we're here tonight to talk about fiber to the home, the entirety of the project, where we're at, kind of just give a brief status update. But before that, just so that we can kind of go over why we're here, what it's about. Just wanted to briefly touch on that. So I've been with NextLink for coming up 4 years now. Been in the industry for a while, but wanted to. Why are we here? You know, who cares about the internet? What's the big deal? So when we first started to talk with the city of Lampasas, kind of went over some issues and some fundamental problems that were occurring. One of them being that whenever a fiber line gets cut, it kind of takes down all central services, right? It would take down cell service, DSL, it would take down other providers, and it would create a situation where it wasn't really conducive to longevity for the city. So that was kind of one of the first and primary things that we identified that needed to change. Secondary being that we needed to bring Lampasas up to the 21st century, right? Increase speeds, increase capacity, bring in some robust and some redundancy. And so diving into the conversations with the city, we went into feasibility. The city of Lampasas did a lot of those feasibility studies. So we were able to understand the dynamics, understand the construction aspects, and kind of get a general sense of is this thing possible? And thankfully, as we worked our way through those conversations, obviously we're here today. So again, just want to say thank you for what we have, what we've established, what we've built, and hopefully for what things that are to come. So the first slide here, let's jump right into it. We're identifying the neighborhoods here. We committed to building fiber to the home, fiber to business, to essentially all of the city limits. Went through a lot of these areas are, they're rough boundaries, right? They give us rough polygons to establish, route miles, construction plans, gives us a sense of how many houses are in each area, how we're going to build it, design it, permit it, all the fun stuff. But there's a lot of these areas where it's a very rough polygon, right? It gives us an establishment of an area, but there's areas outside of these polygons that we still serve. So just want to give that basis of what this map represents. Jumping to the next slide. Well, first off, any questions that y'all got, please stop me. Rambling a little bit. So, if we could have some back and forth if it's needed. Jumping to the next slide. This chart, it's tough to see it, and there's a lot to take in here. It goes over rough timelines and milestones, and it does it based on the previous map. So you can see all of those neighborhoods are identified on that far left column. It gives us a start date, projected completion dates, then it works into, on our side of the fence, construction days. It goes over neighborhood miles. And the next column is cumulative total miles built. And then working our way from left to right. HHP stands for households passed, then an accumulation, total households passed, and then finally that far right column is our percentage complete. So you can see if we work our way down, all the way down to the Sunrise Hills neighborhood, we have built all the way up to the Sunrise Hills, and then working our way to that far right column, we're at about 76% completion for the entirety of the project for what we're trying to service. So there's still 4 remaining phases, what we're calling phases 5 through 8. And you can see in the remaining neighborhoods, they're all listed right there on the far left under Sunrise Hills. Any questions on that so far?
The total miles built, that's in the Q1.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yep. So you can see that there's a lot of network that we built, almost 50 miles of network. So it's been a fun ride. Jumping to the next slide, this kind of ties back into the why. Our first and primary goal, like I said, when I first started back in 2020 with NextLink, we didn't have any established network here. It was a brand new build, brand new start. We were trying to stand ourselves up and essentially get to a point where we could crawl and then start to walk. And so first and primary goal, we had to establish a fiber circuit. We started that out on the west side of town at the water tower on News, as you're going towards the News complex. So that allowed us to at least start to establish a network, build some customer base, build a wireless network outside of that, and then also establish those first few fiber to the home areas, which is why we kind of started. If you go back to the previous slide, the timelines and milestones, you can see all of those first few neighborhoods were in and around the far west side of town. One of the secondary goals, and it's kind of underneath the AT&T fiber circuit, standing up the network, the wireless network around it, around Lampasas, it allowed us to go and build some adjacent wireless network and establish those adjacent fiber circuits as well. So we've got fiber circuits in Colleen and Burnett, and then we built towers in between Lampasas and those adjacent markets, so that we could almost immediately start to have some redundancy, right? So when you get a fiber cut, you don't have a physical hard line out, but now you've got wireless redundancy bringing in at least something that keeps everybody up. So that was one of the second goals that we set out to establish. Got that up pretty quickly within this build. But one of the cornerstones to this was that final fiber-like circuit. We needed to establish a second fiber circuit coming into Lampasas that was independent of the existing one, right? Because it doesn't matter if you've got a second circuit under somebody else's name, if it's still riding that same fiber circuit or that same fiber path, any cut along the line can take you out. So that independent route was finished back in October of 2023. So just about 6 months ago. But again, it's made it so that you lose both of those fiber circuits are working in conjunction. So if this hand falls, this one keeps up and has enough capacity to run everything. And then if you lose this one, the other one's right there. So it's been a pretty fantastic thing since October. I'll be working at the office and you'll randomly lose one and I don't even notice it. So it is, since we've got that completed in October, it's been a real blessing to have. So those were the 3 fundamental objectives that we've really tried to establish, and the 4th obviously being completion of the entire fiber to the home build. So, go to the next slide. jump into what's left. Phases 5 through 8, you can see this map. It didn't quite convey to this slide deck too well, but 4 phases left. You can see the colored polygons, orange, yellow, purple, and red. So phase 5, we'll start with what's left in phase 5, and then work our way through 6, 7, and 8. Phase 5, it's a lot of the neighborhoods are listed out right there, but you can see on the map kind of the south and eastern portions of town. We'll work our way into the business park and finally get a point where we can provide fiber to business park, and then work with some of those really tough areas that we struggle to serve on the wireless as well. Phase 6, Hillcrest and East Lampasas, kind of working our way towards east of downtown, East 4th Street, working our way towards the Walmart area and filling in the gaps in that neighborhood. Phase 7 is a big area that is a lot of the remaining households that we need to cover. North Lampasas and North Lampasas Spring. And then finally phase 8, Lampasas Spring, we'll work our way into the golf course area, some of that Naruna Road out towards Diamond Ridge, and then finally work our way south 281 towards the high school. So that kind of outlines what's left. What we've got for a timeline, we'll go to the next slide. What we've got for timeline, what does it look like? We were running pretty hot and heavy until the end of about 2022. At that point, we kind of put a pause on this. We're trying to recoup some of the initial spend and try to get some traction with the customer base. So I will tell you that, I wish we were at a point where we started this thing back up, 6 to 9 months ago. I'll be honest with you, I think that we're at a point where we just need to finish this thing out and get it to 100% completion. But roughly, and I will say this quite a bit of caution, we're going to roughly put a start time quarter 3, quarter 4 this year. So we're trying to wrap up a few projects that we're committed to, and then ease into this one. We will, for the entirety of this build, we had roughly what we call one crew in here, and so it was what wins the race. It's always slow and steady. You can take a different approach to it and try to get a whole slew of people in here and just bust it out and knock it out. But we kind of taking the approach that it isn't always the best way to do things. We could bust out a lot of footage and build it really quickly if we did bring a lot of people in here, but it also starts to overwhelm a lot of the other services here in town. We've got areas that we're simultaneously trying to build, get overwhelm a lot of the locating services, and then you start to hit anything out there or do any sort of damage, it can really slow us down. So we will, once we've started, we're calling it kind of a trickle build. It'll just be at the same pace. We'll do slow and steady, finish it out to completion. Overall timeline for the remaining 4, obviously we'll work our way through phase 5, finish it up in phases 6 or 8. I want to say probably sometime this time next year, we're hoping to wrap this thing up in its entirety. So, highlights, obviously business park. We'll focus on a lot of those hard to hit areas. There's a lot of places in town, I think we all love our trees here in Lampasas, but a lot of areas where we really struggle to service people on our wireless network. So really looking forward to being able to get back in there and have the customers that have those really unsightly poles on top of the roof, those out and get them switched over to our fiber service. Obviously finishing up 190 East, we don't have any service over there, so 190 East all the way to Walmart, and then like I just discussed, 4th Street, all of this corridor, east of downtown into that as well. So, all right, I think that is about it. Jump to the next slide. Again, thank you guys for having me. I did want to, open book. I want to answer any questions. I know I kind of just flew through this and started to ramble at some point. So, what kind of questions do you have?
Build out, when you guys are all finished up, are you guys next week maintaining any staff in Lampasas?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We're not going anywhere. Like I have said from the get-go, this is a marriage, and we'll be here. We were here yesterday. We'll be here tomorrow, 5 years, 20 years from now. Our staffing, on the fiber side of things, those guys travel, right? They're all over the state, depending on where the work is. But the essential personnel that are out there installing service on houses, or climbing towers and maintaining it, through storms or outages or maintenance work, we're not going anywhere. We've got so much network that we've built, so I can maintain. We've got the office here in town, so we're really looking forward to a long relationship with Lampasas.
You feel you have enough technicians to cover any issues that come up in the area?
I think a few years ago, I think the obvious answer would have been yes, but I think post-COVID, and we're not, I think we're going through the same struggle as everybody else. At times we do, and at times we don't. Generally speaking, yes, right? We've got a lot, even if it's not out of Lampasas, we have such a pool throughout the state that we can bring guys down here temporarily. If we've got a big influx of let's say we just light up a brand new neighborhood and there's just a swarm of installs, which could create, just a backlog that pushes it way out. We typically won't do that. We'll bring in some help. We've even brought in contractors on the installation side to help us knock that backlog down and produce people service as fast as possible. That's it?
Chris, appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Next up is a discussion of draft consent use agreement between the County of Lampasas Rodeo Association and the City of Lampasas.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I would like to say thank you to Chris and his team. They work very closely with staff members and definitely IT, and they've been very responsive on a lot of our projects, so thank you for that. This item is a memorandum of agreement with the County of Lampasas Rodeo Association. This was an ask, and I'll just briefly go back through last time we met. There was a need for an announcer's box that was brought forth by a newly formed association, Rodeo Association. Mr. Harrison was kind of leading the charge on that, and we have gone back, and what's in the packet. So the MOA is a draft. In the short time with Eclipse and everything else, we've kind of worked through that. We still need to sit down and go through that with the Rodeo Club a little more in detail. But a couple things that I would like to point out, if we could. So in Article 3 on the first page, I think the main pieces of that are in here. One of the things that we note, because on the previous agreement with the riding club, there's an Exhibit A. A new exhibit's going to need to be put into this contract, kind of showing, not that there's been really any major changes, but hopefully to capture the announcer's box and any other changes out there. So there will be a new Exhibit A, which is not in this packet. And then what I tried to focus on as we work kind of down through the different consideration, participation, I think what I was hearing from council as well as the association at the last meeting was, how do we want to structure things that come up like that at the rodeo arena? If there's other instances where there's a need So I tried to make sure as we were working through this to leave it open enough for council to make those decisions. If there's a need to help, whether that's labor, equipment, manpower out there, or if there's a need to help offset some costs for some other, piece that's needed of infrastructure or whatever that might be out there. So it still leaves the onus on council to make those decisions and to, kind of guide the process. But also, I think before the riding club agreement was very stringent on, the costs associated with that were their responsibility. Maintenance was mostly their responsibility. Should the city have resources, we could assist. And so try to leave this at a point where it leaves that on council to make some of those decisions. On sheet number 3 or page 3, a couple things that I would point your attention to is the Article 7, which is access and use by the general public. Very similar, almost exactly the same as what was in the riding club agreement. It still leaves whoever's managing that, in this case, if it's the rodeo association, it leaves them the ability, if there's an event or there's something just like the riding club had, I'm assuming, where they have to prep, get the facility ready. It gives them some time. It's a public facility. And so these items 1 and 2, which is prior scheduled events when such public use may be detrimental to preparation for upcoming event and for premises maintenance purposes. So to be able to take it out to get it ready and prep for events, same as the riding club, very similar. Let's see, on page 4, I wanted to just briefly talk about the effective date of the MOU. And I think both parties feel like we would like to see, if council's in agreement, the first year, an agreement, and then every other year after that perpetually could also be reapproved. But it kind of gives the association time to kind of see what forms events and those types of things, and to see what they really bring into the community. Because I think and I'll hand it over to Mr. Harrison here in just a minute, because I know they have a vision of what they feel like this arena could turn into as far as events and what it could attract.
Right, can I interrupt real quick? Article 7, who's going to be doing all the scheduling? Will that be through the city?
Article 7, the scheduling in the past has been done by the riding club.
So what if there's conflicts with scheduling?
If there's conflicts with scheduling, right now the way it's written, and we can adjust that, again, it's just a draft, but it would be on the association to work through some of those things unless it was a conflict that couldn't be agreed on. And then, much like our other sports facilities, Mr. Eicher, our parks director, will get a call. We'll work through that if something escalates. There's always that chance something would escalate and then would come to the city. But
What will be the process of when it escalates, how it will be handled?
typically, it's usually a phone call. They reach out. Most of the folks in the community, I can give you some examples of.
I think the question is, do we want to include language in this agreement as to the next step?
Yes.
That's certainly what we could do. And in the event that a conflict cannot be resolved by the scheduling party, then that may have the opportunity to sit down with staff or whatever mechanism that we choose. We can put that in the agreement.
Just if there's a disagreement where there's a defined resolution rather than a phone call. Just
Right.
kind of cover all that. So.
Yeah, I think in our typical project contracts, we always have an escalation process, so it wouldn't hurt to have something in here that defines that.
Do other groups scheduled to be ready through the association?
I'm sorry?
Will other groups scheduled through the association?
I think the assumption would be yes. I think Mr. Harrison can kind of speak to that too, as far as what the expectation of their association would be. If it's all right, y'all have any more questions for me?
I was curious about, it's 5 insurance requirements. Do we not specify anything that the city requires in that and just look at what we're going to submit or?
Well, typically, This was similar to what we had in the trails contract as far as typically you'll see if there's an event, there's certain requirements for insurance. And really that's what, the general liability covers policy, and then if there's anything needed more than that, depending on the events.
Do we not typically specify within the contract on how much those amounts are gonna be on the insurance requirements? Or we go to the contract I've ever had to work on,
Yes,
said it has to be a minimum
Yes.
of.
Yes,
So
I mean,
I'd like to see something like that in the contract, where we have a minimum requirement.
I think the typical requirement, and we may have bumped that up because 1 million anymore is not necessarily satisfactory to your exposures. I think more recently bumped that up to 2 million, but whatever either our policy says or what council dictates, we'll be happy to do that if it's,
Any other questions? Mr. Harrison would like to speak.
How are y'all? So I don't know how many of y'all have been out there, but we're making some pretty good progress. There's a lot of moving parts to what's going on. Obviously, we're getting it booked up. Should be done and usable by Wednesday afternoon. The groundwork, rain kind of set us back over the weekend, letting it dry out. Should have it wrapped up the same. Which I believe everything. But the Riata Rodeo starts up Thursday. So we'll get it going right on schedule. A little stressful, but that's the way I like it. The arena was in a whole lot worse shape than I thought it was. I guess we made it 25, 30 loads to fix it up. We're sitting about 60 right now to get it right. We've looked into some other things. I've worked with Becky, and of course Ryan as well, going through and finding contractor information on the lighting that's been done out there. We've reached out to Centerline out of Kingsland that had done it. We did find the actual 2-inch sleeve that we ran 7 years ago, 6.5 years ago. We were able to locate it. It's obviously in the wrong spot, but at least it's across the arena. So that's a good thing, because we'll want to run power eventually to this announcer's booth. And we're able to run up to 200 amps if we want to. In doing that, I also talked about backlighting. Right now, we currently have backlighting on ends at the arena, but there's no backlighting around the arena. So any type of event that's held, we have to rent generators and light towers and set them up. We worked through them, got a bid of $8,000 to do the backlighting. So that is something that we're wanting to put forth and get that going. Not asking the city to pay for it. That's something we can do on our own. Roughly, just to give you a breakdown, on sand, gravel, and such going into all this, with the announcer's booth, we did add a tape top across the front of it, 20 foot by 2 foot. With that add, and the add in the labor, and also if we figure out the electric, we're sitting at about $93,899. And of course, the city 2 weeks ago graciously, extended $45,000 towards the project. So I think that's a good equal partnership right there. We're about 50-50. We have some good donors that have stepped up to provide the money. I might be one of them. But we've had some other people too that have been willingly step up and generate, quite a bit of money on that aspect of it. So I think this just what we're doing right now is like I said, just a good partnership deal. And that's about 50-50 as you can get there. And at the end of the day, it is a city asset, and it's capital expenditures. It's going right back into it. I invite all y'all to go out there and look at it. It looks like a completely different place, and it really will help. But that being said, with the agreement, I understand like people, it's a public facility, so as far as people coming in, there's weed and riding and this and that, that's fine. But we're gonna be the group that maintains the ground, that we're looking at buying another drag and a tractor to utilize out there just for keeping that ground. Because we're spending a lot of money on dirt that needs to be maintained properly. And it's not just run a tractor out there with a drag, with any type of drag or a chain, you know, whatever, it needs to be done right. So with that and the amount of money that we're spending, we do want to be able to, we need to be able to schedule events. And when, kind of like the contract was saying, when we schedule an event, there might be a time when we need to shut it down for public, you know, for a couple of days prior to an event. That being said, when we started in the beginning, like I said, with the riding club, we're not trying to dismantle the riding club or get rid of them or push them out of the way. But at the same time, we need to be able to, if we can rent this facility and have it booked and have an event there, we need to have the flexibility for the riding club and other groups that just come out and use the arena for no charge, to be able to be a little more flexible with their schedules, so we can actually get these events in and have people here. I myself have talked to 5 different rodeo producers since we just took this over. News gets around, they call, they're interested, they want to see it and want to see what we can do. Talking with Wayne before he left, Wayne Brooks, before he left to go to California, there's a lot of events that we want to have here that maybe we just lease the arena for 3 or 4 days or 2 or 3 days, and it's a team roping event. Nobody, I'm not going to say nobody, but most people aren't going to go. They're not going to have tickets. They're not going to charge people to come see it. But if you have a 100 or 200 man team come in for a team roping, there's 400 people coming in to rope. But with that 400, they're probably going to have girlfriends, wives, spouses, kids, etc. They're going to come to town with it. They're going to come into town with their vehicles, their trailers. The wives are going to go downtown, hopefully, or around our furniture stores or whatever, or a restaurant, or do anything. So that, to me, the economical impact of that is, yeah, we didn't make much money leasing this out, because what we're seeing is roughly about $350 a day that we can lease the arena out. That seems like a pretty good average area for an open-top arena. But with that, if you look at the impact of us bringing 500 to 1,000 to 1,500 people to town, that's where we'll see the impact economically, in my mind, because that's 1,500 people that wouldn't be sitting in Lampasas for 2 to 3 days if we didn't have that event. So I don't want to give anyone a misconception that there's going to be a big rodeo every weekend, and that's what we're after. We want to have several bigger events like that throughout the year, but we also want to have these big team programs. We want to have the big barrel races. We want to have, you know, different things like that that will bring a lot of people here, maybe not spectators, but it will bring a lot of people to town and brings their money here. So,
to answer your scheduling question, between Chris and I, they will reach out to one of us, and him and I keep a book together to know, is it, if you're ever curious, we did start a website that if you want to know what events are going on, it'll be on that website alone, so you can actually see what it's being used for. So there's a way for everyone to showcase to see, okay, what events can schedule around, and between the two of us, we can handle that, just being able to. And then Charlie, on your insurance question, we are currently working on trying to figure out what we need to do with that. Also, another thing that I have called several rodeo associations and arenas, and that's how we kind of came up with our price per day, but we will also require those who are putting on the events to put us on their insurance policy as an additional insured, so that way we're covered between our policy but their policy as well.
and obviously putting the city as a rider on that.
Yeah.
So it's here with the scheduling is, it's a city asset, and there becomes an issue with scheduling out the road, what it looks like, that's an organization, it's handing on scheduling road to the parks department being the final source there, that disorders. I mean, not
Do what now?
all worrying, but if there's a problem with scheduling, the governor control of scheduling, but someone else tries to schedule something there, but you kind of seem to be the be all end all, and it's not going to the parks department, and see potential for slippery slope.
I don't know, I did it with the baseball association when I took it over for the kids. I mean, the city was more than happy to let somebody else field those phone calls.
That's cool.
And every phone call came, I mean, that came to,
I'm getting phone calls about baseball stuff right now because the city is not involved in that city. I'm personally going through that right now. I wasn't part of that at the time, and so
no, I'm just saying then, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, and this is, we can get way off, I mean, I'll get a little off topic here, but I mean, until we have rec specialists and people in place in City Hall, that's their job to do that. You're dependent on people like us and these associations, volunteers to do it. Is it the perfect system? Absolutely not. I mean, I will tell you, when I was president of the association here, we dealt with Gatesville, Burnett, Marble Falls, Bertram. I was the only guy that anytime we had to have a meeting, we had to meet during the day because everyone's a park specialist or a rec specialist for the city. And I'm like, Brad, I'm not. I'm a contractor. I need to be at work, but I'm dropping things, working on their schedule. Or they don't answer the phone after 3 o'clock. I mean,
I think we created a position last year ago where we moved someone over in for more park scheduling.
We do have a position, park secretary, that can assist in that, but I think what I'm hearing you say, Councilman Morris, is more of a dispute resolution. Hey, I want this time, but they have something already scheduled, or they say there's not, okay, can we resolve that? It's not.
I will throw an example out. We just faced this with the Riata where there was a soccer game on top of this and it got passed all the way down to Melissa, who had to then diffuse the whole situation. So I see what you're saying, but then also like we don't have someone truly in place to really work through that. Because like I said, Melissa just had to handle the soccer game that was supposed to be on. Now luckily they canceled, but due to the rain, so it was able to diffuse, but that situation, it went all the way to city and then went to her to handle.
Do we have an MOA with any of the group out there anymore? Is the Rowdy Club done?
we haven't had one for years.
That expired.
It expired? So basically, we're trying to get an MOA with this group.
Correct.
I was gonna ask on the scheduling part of it, is maintenance gonna be on your online calendar, like the days y'all have blocked off for
You
maintenance?
can make it. That's,
A lot of that just depends on the event too. I mean, we'll obviously have to come out the day before there's an actual big event to drag the arena. It's not gonna be like right now where we're shutting it down for 2 weeks. You know, truth be told, I mean, I finished prepping the ground one night and went to go get a load of water downtown. And the water truck came back and there was already people out there pumping it. I mean, it's hard to shut that down because there's no way literally to shut it down. I mean, which is a problem in itself, but as far as actually shutting it down for maintenance, that's pretty easy. And that's something that I think we can put on our Facebook and website too, to let that be out as much as we could, and we can coordinate that with the city as well to put out.
So you're wanting some verbiage in this to allow you not to keep the public off, I guess, but to have other groups on their events scheduled for review. Is that right?
I think the only group is the riding club, and they shot us a calendar of the year's events that they want to have right now. But just like when they came up earlier this afternoon while I was working and said, "Oh yeah, we're having a junior rodeo out here on 7th and 8th of June." Well, that's pretty pertinent information that we need to know as far as, because we're already accepting and trying to schedule some things now. Now, where I see a scheduling conflict that could potentially be a conflict is, and I've learned over the course of the last week, that there has been several events wanting to come into town to use the arena, but has not been able to because there is an event already planned. Now, where I have an issue with that is if this is a paying event, that should take precedence to be able to lock that arena down. If it's just an open weekend, then I think if we're gonna donate or I don't even know what the right verbiage for that is, but if we're gonna let them use it for nothing, then they should be pretty damn flexible on what the schedule is. It shouldn't be this day, this day, this day, this day.
Since we don't have an MOA with another group, then they should be scheduling events, right?
I think I see Zach's point, that something, it seems like with already hearing all these scheduling issues, it seems like the city needs to have some type of a Google Calendar or something that's shared with your group and the other groups that everybody can kind of see what's happening at the same time. But I think the city's the one that really needs to be in charge of it, it sounds like. Because it sounds like y'all already have scheduling conflicts. And
There's no conflicts right now. I'm just saying, I'm foreshadowing and saying that if it's a non-paying event, a paying event should take precedence over a non-paying event.
We're trying to bring people into town.
Right.
So my point is that if there's another entity or group that's trying to have events out there, we should have some sort of agreement with them. Should we not?
I think what council's asked to consider, and this is not on the regular agenda tonight, correct? But I think what council is asked to consider is transferring that responsibility to the rodeo association. In terms of scheduling, and if there is a conflict, then we can write in some sort of dispute resolution or some sort of means to deal with the conflict. But that entity will be responsible under this draft for the scheduling of that arena.
I get the flexibility, especially with the investment on there. So let's say there's a situation where it is a non-paying event, but someone has to schedule it 3 months in advance, and then a paying event wants to do something that same week.
Because they have it scheduled months in advance, they've already done it. What we're talking about is the last minute. The last minute stuff.
Trying to cover all bases.
Yeah.
Avoid angry conflict.
And for us, I mean, because it's kind of like having a little skin in the game. I think we have pretty good skin in the game right now going into this. And we're going to be the ones maintaining the ground and keeping the grounds up and keeping it where it is useful.
I think we're good. As long as there's some dispute resolution, it's clear.
Plus in the agreement, you'll have it where Will's supposed to come every quarter to tell you how many events we've had and what type of events. So even with that, we should be covered with our basis for this agreement to cover any questions that we have with scheduling purposes, if that.
We'll just give them your phone number, Chris, and then call you.
Everybody has my phone number, I promise you. Doesn't mean I'll answer. They can have it. I'm pretty good about answering. I mean, we really want to make this work, and we really want to have. I know Randy Lake has joined our group. I'll tell you, he's been very generous on donations. Really want to see this thing make it. And like I said, I invite y'all out. Y'all come out Friday or Saturday night. It'll be more senior, or even come out during the day. Because if you've been that mountain, if you've been there any time in the last year or two, you won't recognize the place today. I promise. I think even Charlotte will tell you that. It's changed. It's cleaning up, and we're trying to make it something to be proud of. And with that, kind of just to touch on real briefly, one of the things that's brought up consistently is the seating. We don't have enough seating. There's not enough grandstand seating out there. And that seating was donated to the arena, 2018, 19 area, somewhere in there. That is something that I want to start looking at and getting on the radar to try to see if that's something we can come up with. And especially as events come in that we can justify making that type of expenditure potentially to get seating out there. And I think seating for at least 10 to 1,500 people is kind of the minimum right now. We've got enough seating for about 300. It's not very much. And there's a few other things. I've spoke with Stephen at the sports park. The city has taken those 2 by 2 by 5 foot blocks and encircled the oak trees. I believe the septic area is there from the sports field. But we're talking about maybe putting some of them on the ridge, the high ridge above the arena, basically to keep traffic from trying to drive off that slope, because that's actually the main drainage way for that arena. And keep people from driving through, potentially keep someone from rolling off the edge. And that's something too that we're willing to buy the blocks and put them out as well. So, we have several things like that, the blocks, the seating, grandstand seating, and eventually I think we'll have to move towards concession stand and restaurants. But we want to see it grow. And if it grows, then I think it's easy to justify doing more expenditures to make it work. Easy enough.
I didn't ask this a while ago, but last question for me. Now, I haven't ever reviewed any other MOAs with other cities on groups like this, but would it be normal to have something in here written about a Coggins test for participants, or?
So we will probably we're gonna have our own rental agreement as well, that we can let the city review, just to double check and cover all the bases where we'll require the insurance and everything. But I know several other arenas in and around, especially Blanco County, because they have boarding stables, require Coggins tests. So if the city would like to, which I think is a very great idea, is to see Coggins papers.
I would like to see that in this.
And I think a lot of that will go back into when we bring in what we perceive as a rental agreement for that.
Okay.
I think that's more of where it would be as opposed to.
Yeah, they're gonna see more of the rental agreement than they will see the MOA.
Okay.
So, but I'm happy to draft that and send that to council for y'all to review, or send it to Brian, or whoever needs to send it to for y'all to review once I have that done.
Because we've reached out to Blanco, the Vernon area, uncovered arenas to get their insight, basically to check pricing, what they offer, what they have, and just to give us something to compare off of. It's been a big deal. Anything else? Catches that?
Thank you, Chris.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Any other questions for me? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item up is the hostess house rehabilitation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have at your seat at the dais, the architect's recommendation as well as bid tab. Kimberly Thompson is in attendance from Alliance Architecture, and she is anxious to get up here and talk to you guys about the project. Just a couple of brief things. Bids were opened on April 11th, 2024. We did receive 4 bids, as you can see on the bid tab. Low bid came in at $2.2 million. It is a big number, but to give you some perspective, that is approximately $1 million less than what was the previous scope was bid at. In fact, I think the high bidder on that, including all add alternates, was on the order of 3.4. So by the change in the scope, as directed by council, we did receive some savings, albeit as we reported to you after the pre-bid, we still heard from contractors that told us about the struggles they were having with labor costs in particular, as well as general inflation. This is on the workshop agenda, to provide you the opportunity to maybe discuss a little bit more in detail before you take up consideration of formal action on the regular engineering. And I think one question I do want to address that has come up was related to value engineering, which is appropriate to do once you select or award the bid, to sit down with that bidder. Otherwise, you turn it into an auction, and you don't ask everybody to value engineer there, because we want to make sure it's a fair playing field. So if we can get to the low bidder, talk about any value engineering with the low bidder, that's the opportunity and the timing for that. But with that, I'll turn it over to Kimberly to follow up with any questions.
Good evening, it's great to see all of you again. As he mentioned, we did have a range of 4 bids come in from folks. We had a total of 4 ranging from 2.2 to 2.9. I did reach out to the 2 low bidders and contacted them about some of the value engineering options, and then they were both willing to continue to work with us to see where we can continue just to squeeze the cost down a little bit more if necessary. I also reached out to some of the references, the owners that they have worked with previously, and got great reviews from both the low bidder and the second lowest bidder. So I feel comfortable recommending the lowest bidding company. I think they would be easy to work with. I think they'll be willing to work with us to continue to crunch those numbers just a little bit more. And their timeliness on completing projects, their experience with renovation projects. They provided a lot of examples in their submission to us, so I haven't personally worked with them, but just from looking at their credentials and speaking to other owners, I feel pretty confident in recommending that you move forward with that group. One other thing that I may just want to bring to your attention is the numbers that we provided last June as a number that we were aiming for, and then where we are to this point with inflation, that 2.2 number is about right on track with getting to this point. It's been since June, so we're looking at that number coming on, target to where we were trying to hit. So, do you have any questions for me?
That's first.
That's the first, yeah. We've talked about this project quite a bit, but we're happy to continue to hang in there, and we want to see this project completed just as much as you
I was
guys
just going to
do.
see if anyone else had any questions. I'm ready to go.
Okay,
So AFD, they're out of where?
they're out of Boston.
Okay. And how many previous employers or projects did you touch base with?
I was able to connect with one out of Brazoria County, and then I got an email message from one today. So 2. A lot of the other previous owner contacts have moved on to other cities or moved on to other companies. So sometimes it's really tough to get a hold of previous. But they did offer that if we wanted to continue to connect, that they would try to find those folks for us as well. So that was with both of the low bidding companies. I just had a week to kind of pull that together, and it's really hard for some of those folks to get back to me in a week. So getting a response from 2 is pretty good.
Did they offer up any time frame or anything like that?
They had no issue meeting the schedule, so they're ready to jump in when we're ready to jump in.
And any of these other projects that you check out, anything that had to do with like historical buildings?
There were a couple, yes, with Boston ISD in particular, that included renovation and addition work, and those were completed successfully. One of them was about $150,000 over budget, and then the other one, I would say, I think that one was $100,000 below budget. So you're going to get a range of renovation projects, but we also did include a contingency for that. So you do have about, I believe it's $105,000 in contingency to account for some of those unforeseen conditions.
I guess there's not any questions, I guess.
Okay.
I had one question. Of the subs, are any of those local or in the area?
I did request to get a subcontractor list from both of the low bidders. The NNAC, which was the second to lowest, did provide a list of about 4 local subcontractors. And then I believe ASD, according to ABS, had 2 in the area. But a lot of them in the Cedar Park and more on the northwest side of Austin.
Probably not gonna get it cheaper, are we?
No. The longer we kind of pull this out, as you can see, even though we reduce the scope, the longer we go, inflation continues to rise. So we cut it down to the bare bones. I don't really see it
So if
any
we
lower.
pull the trigger tonight, they're gonna be on site in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days.
I would say they're willing to go. So it's really your contract negotiation time, but within 30 days, if the contract negotiation goes smoothly, they would probably be starting within 30 to 60 days.
What was the length originally? I forgot.
We have 180 days built into their time frame from start of construction. So you could have folks hopefully in there by next spring, able to rent it if we get started.
All right, thank you, Kimberly.
You're welcome, thank you.
I think just to speak to the time frame, obviously, we want to make sure that they get their bonding commitments in place and to us. Talk to them. I don't know that we have any early submittals, but we want to get them started on those submittals right away. But I think that generally it's the sit down, it's pre-construction, it's making sure their bonding is in place, their insurance is in place, and then if there are any details to work out on the contract. But I think 30 to 45 days is somewhat typical.
And the city and Alliance is gonna be watching.
Yeah, I think similar to this project, not only do we have Reliance under contract to come out on a bi-weekly basis to check in, but this is a project we'll keep a construction log on, really on a daily basis, that'll take into account, probably similar to what your architect is doing, is what is the status of the job, how many people are on site, what are the weather conditions, any issues that come up. Typically we would take, like on this project, I would take 4 or 5 pictures a day, so I think that is very, very helpful to eliminating issues before they come up. And yes, I think we do have an advantage by doing that.
Item number 5, regarding the Wings of Eagles, a nonprofit organization using the historical public school and the New Hope Baptist Church.
Mayor and Council, we do have folks that are interested in this item in the audience and like to speak as well. But tonight we're seeking direction from council on this item. Obviously, I believe that we do need some more information in terms of the cost and scope to bring the buildings into usable compliance, particularly around plumbing and HVAC. I think at the same time, if council would like to consider taking some progress to that end, you could also direct staff to start to assemble a draft agreement for future consideration at a council meeting. You do have an inspection report in there, and rightfully so. There are a lot of disclaimers in that inspection report. So we just want to make sure that if council does want to move forward, we want to make sure we move forward with our eyes open, not only for the city's sake, but for Wings of Eagle. It certainly is an opportunity. The mayor has had the opportunity to meet with the potential users. And again, we would just say, if you'd like us to move forward, we will start spending some time and resources to take a look at this project in depth as well as the budget. With that, I turn it over to Marissa or anyone from Wings of Eagles that would like to talk to council.
Can I ask one question, Finley?
Yes, sir.
And if this does go through and drafting these agreements, the Wings of Eagles, they would potentially be like Lampasas Rodeo. They would be more of a guardianship, but not have 100% exclusive use to it. If somebody else wanted to come in and use the colored school for an event or church, is that?
This would be subject to the terms and the deal points that council wanted us to include in the agreement. So, yes, it could, or it could not, depending on what council directed.
Before they talk, I'm just curious because I was looking through this and it looks like a lot of money has to go into this building before they even get to the point of making it. And then, if I remember right from walking through the color school, it's just a shell. There's no restrooms or facilities or anything. So it's nowhere near ready to have someone come in and habitate it or, run stuff out of it.
Yeah, I think one of the issues is restrooms, sanitary conditions, so
Right.
including restrooms and running water and HVAC in the case of the church.
Do we have just even a rough estimate on what it would cost the city to get it up to, because it seems kind of silly to be going into an agreement if we don't even, if the facilities aren't ready.
No, I don't have a rough estimate.
Thank you.
Hi, council again. I don't really have a whole lot prepared. I think most of you know what we do. We've been around for several years trying to help these students. And where we are right now is in a building that belongs to our church, and they're gracious enough to let us use it for free. So we continue to stay with them, but it has a lot of, we're held back a lot because it's not our own space. And so we have a few closets that we can use. We were using the kitchen at one time, but we had to stop doing that because it just proved way too difficult. I didn't want to put our own money into it for a building that's open to the community. And that's another problem that we have is that it is open to the community, so we have to be real careful about leaving our things out. We have to put things away. Some things don't always stay there. We've come up missing a few things. But really, more than just that, we just want a better space for the students. If we get our own space, we can do a lot more for the students. We can provide them more.
And Marissa, can you just share your vision? What do you use these facilities for? What benefit would this be to you guys?
Well, right now, we offer a lot of community service. So in-house, we will have projects. For example, we made the cat beds for the animal shelter. We helped the New Covenant Church put in new posts for their signs. So I try to partner with some of the organizations around here and just put ourselves out there and say, hey, if you need something, let us know and we'll help you. So we do that. We try to help them with their schoolwork if they need help with their schoolwork. In the past, we've helped them with their driver's license, with research for scholarships, research for jobs. We've helped them with interviews. We take them around town to talk to different people in different careers. So as far as what we would do with the space, just having our own space we would be able to use it completely. Right now we can't even use it completely, so I can't put signage out or I can't really put anything out. So I think, and we have to have permission to use it in more than one day a week. So just to be able to say, hey, we want to start this new program, we can't really do that where we are because we only have permission to use it once a week. I mean, we can do things throughout the years, but if we want to start something up new, it's really hard. So there's a lot of new programs that we want to start, but we haven't been able to. For example, well, this one we will be able to because we don't have a building, but we're hoping to take students next summer on a mission trip. So, and in doing that, we'll have community service for the students where they're raising money for their events. And so we'll have some things going on at the building that can support that. So
Structurally, how do you guys set up? You have a 501?
we have a 501c3. Yes, we do. Yeah, we have a board. We're a nonprofit. We have a board. I have a committee. I have some volunteers. So adult volunteers and then students. We have a lot of students that come to us that need hours, but we also have students that come to us because they just want to hang out, or they'll come with their friends, or maybe they came the year before and they've gotten their credits or whatever they needed and they enjoyed it, so they'll keep coming back. So
It's a great organization. I mean, that's what the city's been behind whenever we got the skate park done. But what I'm hearing is that you need an exclusive use building that's just for y'all. And that's,
well, so the thing is, we don't meet during the day because, we work with students. So anybody would be able to use it during the day. And then if they needed to, and right now, I only have a few adult volunteers, so we're limited right now as far as, so 1 day a week is good for us. We are able to be very successful 1 day a week. So it would take a little while before we can build up to opening up more days of the week. Of course, we want to get there. That's our goal, is that we can provide services more than 1 day a week. But if anyone in the community wanted to use that building, they could definitely come to us and we could work around that schedule. And then if it's a group that is wanting to put on a fundraiser or something, then that's even something that we could help them with. So we could get them volunteers if they needed some. So we would be flexible with that.
I'm familiar with the means of use, and they do good work in the community. I just feel at this time the building is not appropriate to have a group in there, no matter the group, but they can be top of the list once we get that available. That's my opinion. I think this is way too early to consider an agreement at this time based on the building facility itself.
because I mean, as much as it'd be great to help another organization in the city, I mean, I don't want to be this guy, but also what is it going to bring to the city? I mean, definitely enrichment of our youth, but, you know, when we're talking about the Radio Association a second ago, we were talking about bringing people in, putting heads and beds, when they're invested in that. And I said, I don't want to be that guy, but where is the...
Are you talking financially? Because financially we wouldn't bring money to the
Right.
city.
Right, so what it sounds like is that the condition of that church, there's a lot of work down there, which equates to a lot of money. And also making the historic colored school usable. And there has to be a justification. Some projects are.
Well, it was my understanding, okay.
With the quality of life of our community and enriching the quality of life of our community. We gotta look at the financial investment there. We're just talking about $2.2 million on HUD, kicking around for dang near 3 years. And need to hear some of that too, because we know y'all do great work.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not trying to diminish.
No, that's
at all.
fine. No, I understand your opinion. It's
It's
good.
just, we're in a position to be financial gatekeepers as well.
So what will happen to the building if y'all don't do anything? It's just gonna delay, at least if we were in there, we're able to maintain it.
Yeah,
The problem is what has to be done to the building, not what will happen to it, what has to be done. It's not usable right now. I mean, the amount of money that we're gonna have to put into it to make it safe for you and the kids to continue your mission is large. And in my opinion, as of today, I don't want y'all in there. It's not safe. And the historic school, the color school, it's a shell. There's no facilities there. There's no restrooms. You know, there's a lot of money that has to go into that. And that's something that I think we as a council would have to look at in the future. I don't think we're prepared to do that, not today.
Okay.
And like I said, it's nothing against your organization, it's that I don't think those are the right fit for you right now. I mean, maybe in the future that might be something, but right now, in my opinion, it's not, those are unusable spaces.
If we're not doing anything, what's gonna happen is they're just gonna sit there like they sat there, unless there's the right fit over there. I mean, we'll talk about it every year.
So if the city does agree eventually to update the space, is that a possibility in the future? Or are you just saying
I
right
think that's
now?
something that a future council would be willing to take up and look at. I can't make that commitment to you today that for sure, yes, we would, because I may not be sitting here when that happens.
Right. Well, thank you for listening to us and taking it into consideration.
Item number 6, discussion and recap on the solar eclipse event that took place on Monday, April 8th, 2024.
Mayor and Council, I just have some quick comments for you. We do plan, once we settle up all of our accounts, to provide you the financial information. We just haven't gotten to that point yet. I think the other thing we hopefully also be mindful of, and perhaps particularly we would see, is the impact to our hotel occupancy tax fund as well as the sales tax for that period of time. We certainly do know and recognize there are some spin-off benefits from having that many folks in town. Just a couple brief comments on the crowds. Although we noticed some uptick in traffic, it was fairly minor. Maybe it was equal to what a weekend traffic would be. On the week prior, we saw a lot more campers in town. They were obviously going to and from other locations, but we knew that we would always be somewhat of a collection center for the highways as they come through Lampasas. The week prior crowds did not materialize like we anticipated, and we're talking about that operational period basically from Friday to Sunday. Albeit we did see some increases, but not to the expectations that we had prepared for. The day of, I think were very good crowds, but they were very manageable at the same time. I don't think we were overwhelmed by the crowds, but certainly we were. They were very manageable. I talked with probably 200 people that day at all of our venue locations: Turner, Campbell, W.M. Brook, 580. So anywhere that there was a congregation, I didn't get out to the business part, but to a person, they were highly complimentary of our community. They were very impressed with our preparation. And I think the other thing that they were very impressed with was the information that was available online. I talked to several people that shopped locations to see this from. And they made their decision to come to Lampasas based on the information they found online and the research they were able to do. So it speaks well for the staff planning team, Monica and her crew, in terms of getting that information out. Day of traffic, we probably saw an uptick in traffic beginning as early as 6 a.m. Public safety, and I'll ask for those folks to chime in. I'll ask for those folks to chime in, but I believe from a public safety standpoint, we had one stalled car, one flat tire, one arrest was made during the day. I think we had maybe some other PD, somewhat routine, very routine calls. I think the chief would tell you that their activity for that day was probably a little bit less than their normal activity for a day in March. The FD reports, I believe there were 4 medical calls during the event that were very routine, and Nothing was terribly remarkable about those. The traffic post-event, I think probably 2 to 3 hours worth of congested southbound traffic that was managed very well by the PD, Lieutenant Montgomery and his crew, who controlled lights on Key Avenue North and Key Avenue Omnis, made for a very efficient, unless you were backed up on 6th Street or 2nd Street and you wanted to get onto Key, because that traffic just moved north to south pretty openly, with the exception of a few opportunities. Lampasas showed very well to not only the region, the state, the United States, and as you see examples of internationally, I think America. The other highlight that I have that's pretty interesting is that we had a team of NASA engineers at 580. These are people with big brains. These are incredibly, and yet they still pulled a roll of duct tape out of somebody's bag to fix something. So even those NASA engineers were using duct tape at this event. I think it was very positive. You do have some letters at your seat at the dais from folks that we've heard from, thanking us for doing what we did. We have one from actually an emergency management professional that really, I think, probably hopefully gave you some good perspective from his perspective as an emergency planning, emergency preparation expert and professional. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We do want to get you some numbers, but did well. And I think, Mary, you have some other information.
Yeah,
as
I
well.
thought this was really interesting. It's a United States map. I did not color it. It was colored at HEB, at our local HEB here. And every state, with an exception of 3 states and the United States, were right here in Lampasas. And they did a superb job of going around and asking the customers that came in during that weekend, where are you from? And so that's where they got that map from. We had people from all over the world, not just the United States, Argentina, Australia, Cuba, Chile, Bermuda. Finland, France, Germany, Honduras, Hungary, India, Ireland, Italy, Kenya, Mexico, Netherlands, Norway, Philippines, Poland, Turkey, Serbia, Somalia, Scotland, Ukraine, and the United Kingdom. So I think a lot of people from around the world came right here to Lampasas, and that was really cool. Anybody else? All right. We'll go to item number 7, discussion regarding any items on the regular agenda. And if there is not, we will take a 10-minute recess, and we'll come back at 7 o'clock. This time, we'd like to call a regular council session to order. All rise.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we can't thank you enough to be in this great community and be a part of this great process. We thank you for the city of Lampasas and all of our residents and visitors. We ask that you be with this fine group tonight, that we have some good information going both ways, so we can make some good decisions for the betterment of your entire community, which is what you will so want. We ask, Lord, that you be with us, forgive us our sins, and watch over us and save you till we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen. Don't get the plate. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the United States, one state, under God, one and indivisible. On the morning of April 16, 2024, at approximately 8 a.m., a two-vehicle collision occurred at the intersection entering Lampasas High School. While for the most part everyone involved was fine, there were minor injuries sustained to some of the parties. Lampasas Police Department arrived on the scene, treating all parties involved appropriately, as well as conducting the collision investigation. While this situation is common for those of us who work in the field of law enforcement, fire, or EMS, it is not common to work in situations like these along a 17-year-old high school student. Upon the arrival, Officer Dustin Russell with the Lampasas Police Department observed a 17-year-old, Charlie Freeze, actively rendering aid to a female occupant of one of the vehicles involved in the traffic collision. Freeze was holding the victim's head stationary while consoling them until the EMS, Lampasas Fire Department, arrived and applied a neck brace to them. Now, while this act may seem minimal to some, add emergency lights, sirens, and ambulance of first responders, while wreckage surrounds you, this could easily make one shaken. However, not Freeze. She kept poised throughout and demonstrated a level head among the highest unsettling situation. With all this being said, I feel that Freeze demonstrated these values needed to receive the support, and that her core value are within the same sense of the community's first respect for others that we as a city try to demonstrate to one another. It is our privilege as a council to recognize Charlie Freeze for demonstrating the poise and grace under pressure. Charlie, would you please rise? Come on up, come on.
You sign it. You sign it.
Remember, I'm short. Yeah. We're good. Okay. I'm taller than her now. Grace under pressure, right
Sign
here.
it a little bit. Sure. Everybody can look at their picture.
Go ahead.
So do us. You know, can I get a picture with her?
Yeah, come in.
She's looking up.
Oh, she said no. Yeah, with the hero?
Can I get a little? Everybody get up and go anywhere. Not done yet.
Next one up is the Millsy Talbert Community Championship. Community Champion. First, I do not believe that you can nominate one without the other. Joey and Vicki McQueen make an incredible difference together for each other every day. These two lovebirds met in kindergarten and have been making a positive impact for their families and communities since then. They have been in education for over 40 years, and we are blessed to have them in Lampasas. They decided to give us another chance after leaving in 2012. These two champions have had a huge impact on the culture of our school. Every day they get up and love and build each other up, build others up like no one else. The positive energy brought to Taylor Creek and Lampasas High School is unmatched. Joey and Vicki McQueen are also very involved in their church, serving on committees, volunteering to help with youth, and just plain simply serving others. Joey and Vicki are also a big part of Lampasas ISD, FCA, and have been a large part of Fellowship Christian Athletes for many years. They are also involved with the Young Life organization. Coach McQueen can now be seen coaching the young badgers, building badgers, so they will have a great future success. He might even sell you some lumber, or maybe even a house in the near future. We are lucky to have them in Lampasas. I can't tell you how many times I've told somebody I am working at Lampasas and they ask about Coach and Miss McQueen. And they go on to tell you about the impact they've made on them and their communities. They are truly builders of people with servant hearts sent out to love others. And for us, they are truly our community champion.
The lady told me to stay, I was ready to leave.
He has a baseball game to get to.
Congratulations.
I know, I have, a long time.
That's really neat.
I know, you're chewing me out.
Take 20 pounds off, please. Well, thank y'all.
I nearly started crying because I have known her for a long time, and it's but I was ready to leave. I said, "Hey, let's go." I told Dr. Esco, "Let's leave." And he goes, "No, you gotta stay." Thank y'all very much. We love this community. We love. I look around and I see people that we've had in Coast and
Talk.
yeah, and so you are getting a lot older.
And we want you to meet our daughter and grandson that's now in Lampasas.
Yeah. Y'all come up and take a picture.
Thank you, sir.
Y'all don't know yet, I am leaving, but this guy coming right here is gonna, and I've got spies in the high school. If he's not doing his job, he'll last 1 year. Just know that. Thank y'all.
At this time, we'll move on to the proclamation. First one up is Lineman Appreciation Day.
Whereas on January 3rd, 2017, the 115th Congress adopted House Resolution 10, recognizing linemen. The profession of linemen, the contributions these brave men and women make to protect public safety, and expressing support for the designation of April 18th, National Lineman Appreciation Day. Whereas the City Council of Lampasas celebrates the profession of electrical linemen and wishes to honor its electrical department personnel for their exemplary service to the city and its citizens. And whereas this profession demands passion, dedication, ongoing training, and requires our linemen to work their lives 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, to keep the electricity flowing. And whereas linemen are often first responders during storms, working to repair broken and damaged electrical lines under hazardous conditions in order to make the area safe for other public safety heroes. Whereas linemen play a vital role in the lives of our citizens by maintaining and growing our electrical infrastructure. They put their lives on the line every day by working with many dangers of high voltage. Now, therefore, I, Zach Morris, Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Lampasas, hereby appoint April 18th as Lineman Appreciation Day in Lampasas. And I urge all citizens to remember the selfless work the city's linemen do each day to keep our lights on.
Proclamation supporting our National Library Workers' Day as of April 25th, 2024.
Please welcome me and celebrate National Library Workers' Day, whereas Lampasas Public Library provides community members with the knowledge and information they need to learn, live, and work in the 21st century. Whereas there are thousands of academic, governmental, public, school, and specialized libraries in the United States that provide excellent and invaluable service to all library users. Whereas libraries represent a microcosm of the larger society, and library workers play an important and unique role in the communities that they serve by providing an inclusive environment where all are treated with respect and dignity. Whereas librarians and library support staff bring the nation a world of knowledge in person and online, as well as personal service and assistance in finding what is needed when it is needed. Whereas it is important to recognize the unique contributions of all library workers and the value to individuals and society of those contributions. Whereas a steady stream of recruits to library work is necessary to maintain the vitality of library services in today's information society. Whereas libraries, library workers, and library supporters across America are celebrating the National Libraries Workers Day, sponsored by the American Library Association Allied Professional Association. Therefore, be it resolved that our illustrious Mayor, Herb Pierce, proclaim Thursday, April 25th, 2024 as National Library Workers Day. He encourages all in the community to take advantage of the variety of library resources available and to thank library workers for their exceptional contributions to American life. And on a side note, I was raised by a librarian.
Next proclamation supporting the professional municipal department, May 5th, through May 11th. 2024.
I love doing this. Make you stand up, please. Proclamation 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week, May 5th through May 11th, 2024. Whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of Professional Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of the Professional Municipal Clerk provides a professional link between the citizens, local government bodies, and agencies of government and other levels. Whereas professional municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of their neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all. Whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community. Whereas the professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of professional municipal clerk throughout participation in education programs, seminars, and workshops, and the annual meeting of their state, provincial, county, and international professional organizations. Whereas it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of professional clerk. Now for the Mayor of Lampasas does recognize the week of May 5th through May 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerk, Becky Sims, and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Thanks, Becky.
And with that, we'll move on to our public hearings, citizens' comments. Any citizen who desires to address the city council on matters not included on the agenda may do so at this time. The city council may not deliberate on items presented under this agenda item. And there is none. 1.2, citizens' comment. Any citizen who desires to address the city council on the matter that is included on the agenda may do so at this time. Public hearing to receive citizens' comment relating to the corrections, verbiage, and the ordinance 920 adopted by the City Council in December 2000 that abandoned a portion of West Avenue A between Block 1, Lots 9 and 10, Block 2, Lots 4 and 5, and Fairview addition.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item was actually brought to me by Dina Williams, who is the professional assistant for John Crumley's attorney at law. And when we were looking through the actual ordinance, we noticed that there was some verbiage that was wrong in the actual ordinance itself. So they referred to Fairview as well as Park. And so if you look at page 36, you can see it's kind of underlined on there. In the first paragraph, it refers to Fairview Edition. And then in section 1, it refers to Park Edition, which Park Edition is incorrect. And I think it was just an oversight at the time, because normally we'll use a template or a boilerplate when we're going to update these ordinances. And I believe that was just overlooked and was not corrected. So I attempted, what I laid at your dais was go ahead and send a letter to them to have them corrected and filed with the deed and with the ordinance. But at that time, they recommended I just redo the ordinance and correct that verbiage. So that's what I'm doing this evening, just bring it to you, just kind of like a more of an administrative process, just to take out that wording and fix it to where there's Fairview on there instead. And I did include minutes too, so everything that you have in your dais shows everything Fairview. There is no park association with this abandonment, it was just an oversight. Be happy to answer any questions y'all may have.
Any questions?
Thank you.
2.0, 3.1, discussion and possible action concerning the approval of minutes of the regular city council meeting held on March 25th, 2024.
Against the corrections, recommend approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
3.0, consent agenda. 3.1, discussion and possible action regarding the over 4,000 report from March 1st, 2024, March 31st, 2024. 3.2, discussion and possible action regarding the January 2024 investment report. 3.3, discussion and possible action to approve the second reading of the ordinance declaring conflict of candidates in the May 4th, 2024 general election, elected to office, canceling the election, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. 3.4, discussion and possible action to approve the second reading of an ordinance to approve amending Appendix A, fee schedule, Chapter 54, entitled Parks and Recreation, Article 1, golf course fees. 3.5, discussion and possible action to approve the second reading of an ordinance to approve amending Appendix A, fee schedule, Chapter 62, solid waste, Article 3, building rate and fees related to collection of solid waste.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 4.0, boards and department reports.
Jeff, would you like to look at the first? Would you like to
I'd like to. Mayor, council. First, a few statistics. The first year of the pandemic, we had processed 1,349 violations at a gross income of $291,968. City kept $204,910. In 2021, actually dropped a little bit. We processed 1,234 violations, and the city kept $230,454. It's an uptick in 2022, where we processed 1,519 violations, cut a total of $303,000. The city kept 212, and there's been a significant increase again in 2023. 1,748 violations filed, 313,000 gross collected, and the city kept 230,900. I'm still having good luck with the collection agency. I'd say about 20% of the violations wind up with the collection agency. Here in 2024, between what we're doing and the collection agency, we've collected $32,931 for us. Last year, $129,000. So we're keeping them fed with cases that are not stale, that we're not going to be able to collect on our own, or not as efficiently. Of course, when they collect, their fee is on top of what we would otherwise be entitled to. We're going to be costing them to the city to refer those cases, and NFA is our collection agency, very good. You may recall we used to have a warrant roundup. These days, staggered. So in March, when tax refunds are being sent out by the government, in June and September, it's how we stagger the time of the year in which we have enhanced enforcement. Postcards first, then text messages, and then written warrants and promises of amnesty. So it's working pretty well as the warrant roundup reward. We don't have any jury trials pending. There are no bench trials pending. Community service hours have still fallen off 2022, we had 436, compared to 2019, which we had 3,500 community service hours. Last year was at 880. It's mainly teenagers with drug paraphernalia, curfew, tobacco and alcohol. The adults who sign up, they don't show up, you issue a warrant, you get jail time credit. So that's how this is turned into community service through the court. The teenagers, they're doing great. You know, the city gives us cell phones. We have about 1,000 contacts in these cell phones. And when they come in to get a ticket, we look at the email addresses and cell phones, because that's how you communicate with these people in this day and age. And we're morphing into that manner of trying to get people to make the payments and wrap up their cases. Although, saw a woman in jail this morning. She had a couple of cases profiles, another warrant, just ignored us. And so, if we have to, we'll be in the jail. And the police department does a really good job of serving our workers. They're still actively helping people with their driver license problems. Anybody that's tried to renew your driver's license lately knows that the way it worked 10 years ago is not how it works anymore. And many of the people we've been in contact with, they don't have internet service, they don't have a computer, they don't have a smartphone, they don't know how to search, how to get an appointment online, how to deal with the problems with the driver license. You've got to be in the office in the first place. So we're working hard with the people that we meet, not only to find them and collect that money, try to help them with their driver license problems. We're getting ready to do that. We had a great meeting with Brandon English, who's our new code enforcement officer, and we've assured him that his cases are going right to the top of the pile. Any questions? Thanks so much.
All right, good evening, Mayor and Council. I will, I'll do my best to make this pretty quick, because my time at the golf course is pretty short. So what I did is I went back and looked at just a few of what I did is went back and looked at a few of the financials and just kind of compared from, say, December 2022 through March of 2023, and then compared that to December 2023 to March 2024. That's kind of the time frame on, I started in January, so I just kind of wanted to make a quick comparison as far as memberships, trophies, shed rentals. First page you can see here, comparison here as far as single memberships, couples memberships, family memberships, and trophies. We're pretty much on par as far as last year. Gained a couple of members on the single side, lost a couple on the couple side, gained a couple on family. Trail fees and shed rentals, those pretty much stay the exact same, just because we're limited on how many sheds we have out there. There's a waiting list on those, so those go up pretty quick. So that was my comparison on that. Greens fees and park rentals. You'll see here that we did go up about $9,000 in comparison to 2023 for this year. I think a lot of that has to do with the weather. We didn't really have a cold February that we had in, say, 2020, 2021. So there was an uptick in February of this year as far as play at the golf course. And then park fee revenues, that pretty much goes hand in hand with your greens fees. Next comparison, merchandise and concessions. Merchandise sales are actually probably down about $4,000. I can't really say why on that. I guess people just aren't wanting to spend the money or kind of merchandise that we have in the pro shop, or they find better deals on eBay or Amazon. So that is down. Concession sales are up slightly. We've added a few things on the concession side, and so yeah, that's up just a little bit. Next, agronomic practices. I'll talk a little better on this one. So last month in March, we ran it's called a shockwave machine. We subcontracted that out. It's a deep time aerification machine. It's not your typical machine that actually pokes holes. This actually cuts. This little quick video should play here in a minute. It actually has 10-inch long tines that just cut in a straight line through the soil profile. We had a lot of compaction in some of the areas on the greens. Our root system was very shallow, so we were kind of facing some issues. Also, we had a lot of just junk nutrients that were tied up in the soil, sulfur, salts, things like that needed to be flushed out. This machine actually will go through and it will help alleviate a lot of those issues that we had in the soil. This is a quick video it's hard to see on there, but that machine's actually going down about 10 inches. The lines that you see right there are really what it should look like. Here in a second, you'll see I kind of pan the video out. Those areas right there where we were very shallow rooted, so it pulled a lot of those areas up, and it's been tough getting those to recover, but we're getting a lot better. I've had some complaints about it, but I mean, for the most part, I think people understand. They understand that it's a new process, seeing something new. Went ahead and pulled the trigger on it, like I said, in March. That gives us time to let those areas recover. Probably wouldn't have been a good idea to do it in April and May because we have been really busy this time of year. It's not something we're going to have to do every single year, maybe every other year. It just kind of depends on what our root structure looks like and what our shade structure looks like. Next, I have kind of narrowed up the fairways a little bit. Not much, not anything crazy. Just want to make the golf course, I won't say more challenging, but it will, by narrowing it up, it is going to make it a little more challenging. That is going to help. It's also going to help us reduce back on some of the chemical costs as far as spraying pre and post on our high profile areas, which is really what I'm trying to focus on. Areas outside of that, we've just kind of misled with this pre-emerge from a cost standpoint. So kind of what we've got it narrowed down to, everything's really kind of fit within budget for what I was wanting to do. The next thing is what I'm going to call an approach cut. We're using our our T-mower to mow at a different height out in front of the greens just a little bit. So there will be a distinct cut that we'll be able to see in between those. It's aesthetic and it also helps from a playability standpoint. It'll help from a playability standpoint as well. From an application standpoint, as far as our pre-emerge this year, I know in the past it used a lot of granular applications. I was kind of taught more so on the liquid side of things. You can cover a lot more. Once it's watered in, it tends to break down a little bit faster and get into the soil quicker. So we've started that this year on a pre-emerge standpoint. You'll see up here where we did subcontract out the areas outside the fairway. There's two reasons for that. One, I wanted to spray post-emerge in the fairways and tee areas to clean up a lot of the weed issues that we were having. And from a cost standpoint, he wasn't really there to do wall-to-wall for the whole golf course. So the company that we did, I did get the chemicals from, they offered an incentive to where we bought all the chemicals, about 90% of everything through them. And they offered to bring in one of their guys with a 300-gallon spray tank and only charged us $25 an acre. They ended up doing about 60 acres, and then we handled the other 30 in-house, which is pretty much one of our greens and tee boxes and approach cuts. We have started doing a weekly top dressing on greens. That's going to help smooth out a lot of the greens over time. Not saying that they were not smooth, we just get a lot of wall marks out there for play. People will not fix their divots. So by top dressing, it does help with smoothing out the greens, and then also from an algae fungicide standpoint, it helps with that as well. And then you can see here where we've also incorporated a weekly green fertility program. So we are going out weekly and spraying something on the greens. So right now what we're doing is we're putting out a granular product on the greens once a month, and then we're incorporating in between, kind of spoon feeding them, if you will, with a liquid fertility every single week. And then we're incorporating some fungicides, insecticides, and things like that. Some other agronomic practices and non-agronomic. We have started using some growth regulators and iron on greens and tea boxes. I've found a pretty cost-effective growth regulator that's out there, as well as an iron source to use. It's going to help with just really more visual than anything on the iron source. It's not really doing anything for the plant overall. But the Primo, that will help from a growth regulation standpoint, should help on mowing, on how the frequency that we're having to mow, how quickly it's not stopping the grass, it stops it from growing laterally, it makes it grow a little more horizontally. So from a clipping standpoint, we shouldn't have to mow nearly as much on fairly speeds over time. It's just going to take time for that plant to adapt to that. We did actually just finish up, well, we got to finish up tomorrow, but we started a wall-to-wall fertilizer application. It's a custom blend that I sat down with, like I said, with one of our chemical reps, and we built it to where we'll get about 2.5 months longevity out of it. So if we apply it now, we shouldn't have to go back down with anything until about mid-July. I have a plan on that for a very cost-effective fertilizer to use at that point to carry us through the rest of the summer. We did verify tea boxes beginning of this month. I'm sorry, actually we did it during the week of the eclipse. We pulled a 3/8-inch cord. Not anything crazy. We did have some compaction issues on the tea boxes as well, but the tea boxes have actually responded very well to it and really taken off and filled back in pretty quickly. I was impressed with how quickly they came back. We've introduced a barcode scanner in the pro shop. That's going to help us as far as getting people in and out. Me being the new guy, I didn't know all the key codes to get people in and out. So on Saturdays, I was pretty slow on getting people in and out of the pro shop, especially when we were busy. Now we've created a barcode that we can just scan, get people in and out. Also with that, I didn't put it up here. We've started to incorporate a T system on the computer that's really going to help us log names. It should help us with keeping up with rounds and keeping up with where we're at, and keeping people in the system on tee times and things like that moving forward. As y'all know, we do have a good fleet of club car rental cars that are coming next month. Originally, I was told May the 9th. I talked to them the other day. They did say that it would ship May the 9th. So we're looking at May 13th, which is a Monday. Yeah, it's a Monday. We should be getting those carts in. And as y'all know, the advisory board agreed to the $5 increase on those. And then the last thing that we've started kind of incorporating into our agronomic practices is the Golf Association did purchase us a lightweight greens roller. So we've been using that to help smooth out the greens. Not just now, but also later on down the road, I would like to start doing more what I would call needle tining, which is a small tining to kind of open up the greens to help with the compaction issues. And then this machine would come back over and it's kind of lightweight. It's not anything, it's not packing them or anything like that. It's just a light roller to smooth out once that process is finished. Future goals, continue driving root depths on greens. That's the big thing to help with compaction issues and to help with just any issues that we have with thin spots on the greens. I want to try to incorporate more wetting agents into the program. This will help aid with water frequency on greens. Many of y'all know watering is obviously a big issue with a lot of people. Overseeding the tee boxes next fall and winter. I do want to try to incorporate a couple of greens covers on number 2 and number 13 next winter. I really think that's why there's been some historic problematic areas on those greens. They're pretty much fully exposed to the north wind. So when those freezing temps come out and having a shallow root system, they've been really slow to come back historically in the past in the springtime. So I think that those would help out. And the Golf Association has already said that they would help on purchasing those 2 covers just to put on those greens. We have incorporated a Golf Genius golf system that's going to help with tournament keeping. From talking to people, there's a lot of golf courses that use this. It can also be a fee that we can incorporate to golf tournaments to keep up with who they've had in the past, groupings, pairings, printing out scorecards, that kind of thing. If they don't want to use it, then just continue to let them right off the short cards with the copy, we can charge a fee. Make a little money to help pay for that. So it's, I know y'all are gonna ask what the cost is on that. Basically, it breaks down to about $100 a month, so it's $1,200 a year on that. Well within the budget to make it work. It's been a process trying to learn it. So once a week, I pretty much sit down and spend about an hour to an hour and a half with the guy that's remotes into the computer. We basically have a phone call and he just steps me through things. He told me 12 to 18 months is usually about the length of time that it takes to master it. So that's what we're kind of working on that right now. And I did say that about the pieces. So that's really all I got. Do I have any questions?
Super thorough.
I'm sorry?
Super thorough.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Is that shockwave machine available for rental? Can they rent that?
I can definitely make a phone call.
Okay.
They got a bigger one too. Good. Thanks. You did.
City manager's operational report.
Mayor and council, my items noted on the agenda did not follow what was emailed to you on Friday. I had to give Becky a list earlier tonight. I was ready to give her a list, so be slightly different than what's on your agenda. I want to talk first about total trihalomethane. That is a sum of several constituents. I believe as many as 10 different constituents, but all of them are a byproduct of the disinfection process. So when you put chlorine into the water, or chloramines into the water to disinfect it, byproduct of that disinfection is trihalomethanes. There is an MCL, or maximum contaminant level, noted for that. That's tested once a quarter by TCEQ. And you keep score of that based on a running 12-month average. So if your average is over that MCL, you'll have to notify the public, which is a position that unfortunately we are put in. Our last quarterly test was 92 micrograms per liter. That's compared to the MCL of 80 micrograms per liter. But because we had a high reading 2 quarters ago, that pushed that average, running average above the 80 MCL. This is something that has happened to us before. The last time it happened was 2013, I believe. Even though that it does require a notification to our customers, it does not require an alternative drinking source. It says if you may have long-term issues, if you have exposure over a long period of time, and if you have concerns, check with your doctor. But at this time, it does not require any alternative or boiling or anything like that. It's just simply notification we have to give to our community. And we don't take that lightly. This is something that we've been working with our partners in the East. Stephen Sewell and Van Sims have also contacted TCEQ for their technical assistance team, who has come in, and you do have an email in your file that provides some results of those conversations with the technical assistance team. Could be related to weather, possible nitrification within our system, as well as the lack of aeration at one of the water treatment plants to the east of us. Aeration is a way to knock down at least 1 or 2 of the constituents that make up that total trihalomethane. We are hopeful and do believe that reporting requirement will drop off in the next quarter, but we wanted to make sure that we notified you. You do have the draft language within the packet, or within the items that were sent to you, as well as the attached email. And I'd probably defer to Stephen or Van on this, but I believe they will tell you much the same. Any questions on that before I start moving with the rest of my report? Airport planning meeting on April 16th. We did get the opportunity to review the action plan, which includes the airport inventory, the forecast, and facility requirements. Of note which is also included in your report, the airfield and terminal deficiency and recommendations, which cited basically 4 items. to improve the strength and length of the runway, hangar availability, fuel farm, and terminal building. The other thing that I think is worthy of notice, even if we extend the runway and strengthen that runway, we'll still probably be classified as a B2 airport. And a B2 airport, the perspective on that is that is okay for smaller business type jets, Cessna Citations or King Airs. We will still, and we do occasionally have even larger planes like that landing at Lampasas. However, they don't typically come on the hottest day of the year, and they don't take off the full fuel either. So certainly there are limitations. We think if you wanted to ever have anything beyond that kind of B2 small jet rating, it would require much more room, distances between, for example, the runway and taxiways, and room that frankly a lot of general aviation airports just don't have. It was well attended. We do hope to meet again in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And Councilman Keel, did I forget anything?
Well, I got just like you said, also one of the big issues, main issues of fuel farm. I think we're missing out on a lot of potential revenue there with there. And once we get that, I think that's top priority. And then these other items on that to-do list are further down. But first should be that fuel farm.
I-14, the I-14 coalition with TxDOT have put out the I-14 system in Texas implementation plan report. As a reminder, this is lays the groundwork for connectivity between major military facilities and seaports. The document that they have provided does outline planning and implementation, which may take another 2 decades for them to get started on, and it will be dependent on the availability of funding as well as district priorities. I do have a hard copy of that plan, and if you'd like to look at it, I'd be very glad to make a copy of it. Hamilton EMS, you do have that report included in the email packet as well as what is on the dais for you. Of the 367 total calls for the month of March, 173 or 47% originated in the city of Lampasas. Another 63 or 17% were allocated from Ravensbrück Hospital as transfers. The average response time within the city was 5 minutes and 19 seconds. Calvert Building, we do plan on starting the lettering and historical commission designation on the building this week. We also will try to start placing the architectural drawings in the building as well. We may want to consider, and I'm looking at options for landscaping as a time frame for contract scoping and pricing from the highest rate. Submittal is overdue, so we may be looking at starting up that project in a different manner. We'll bring that back to council. SIDCOG is also in the process. Of course, Lampasas County is a member of SIDCOG, a 7-county council of governments. They are in the process of doing the roadway safety plan, and they did have their staff and their consultant come to Lampasas and meet with city staff as well as the county judge last week to discuss kind of hot spots in the city as well as the county. We did refer to comprehensive plan in terms of truck traffic on 4th Street. Did also cite traffic in general on 190 from Lampasas to Kentner, and then also some traffic just north of the airport. We want to take the opportunity to also report, we got an email just before 5 this afternoon that Kentner does have a water main break in between the 195 pump station and Ivy Mountain. They are trying to keep that live until they get it completely uncovered. We think that even though there are a lot of unknowns at this point, we think certainly a better location being on the other side of Ivy Mountain Tank. Ivy Mountain Tank is the main head pressure for the system. So 195 pumps into Ivy Mountain, and Ivy Mountain provides the head pressure to push that water to the west. I think if it had been more dire, they would have not said we're gonna put this off until tomorrow and take a look at it. So we're certainly keeping our fingers crossed, and we're hopeful that although there will likely be a request to conserve water, we think that we hopefully will be in better shape than we have in the past. And then to dovetail with that, Jason Jones will be here at the next meeting to give us an update on our water system. If you haven't answered any questions, thank you.
Yes. I did have a quickie. It's back to the I-14 thing. With their plan, was it just like a timeline type thing, or did they have they actually drawn the road yet, like where they intend to bring I-14?
They do have the route of the road, but the specific design in and around communities has not been determined yet. So that would come much, much later, probably after even the funding piece is in place.
Okay, so we don't have any ideas yet how it's going to affect us.
We know that the route is coming through Lampasas. We don't know how it will affect us in terms of the interchanges. Is that safe to say, Ryan?
Yeah, that's safe to say.
I mean, and like I said, I do have a copy of it, so if you'd like a copy of it, I'd be glad to print one out for you.
I would like a copy of that.
Okay. Two. 3. I'll print up some. Put them in your box.
All right, we'll go down to 7.1. Discuss and select website photo contest winner.
Mayor and City Council, there were 2 photos submitted for the month of March.
Make a motion on each one.
Second.
Hold on, we got a motion.
Yes.
You got a second?
Protein, yes.
Second. All in favor?
Opposed. I'm okay with the red.
So it is entry number 1. Seven point 2, discussion and possible action regarding fire station department staffing changes.
I'll kick this off and then I'll hand it over to Interim Chief Adams. But this item was reviewed at the previous meeting, and staff's charge at that time was to review finances and come back with perhaps an implementation timeline based on that. As a reminder, the proposal was to eliminate one of the deputy chief positions and add 3 FTEs, which would bring our engine companies to a 4-person engine company. That annualized increase was a little over $98,000. Again, we're looking at less than half of a year now, so what we're trying to cover was the piece of that would be plus or minus $45,000. I think that between Deputy Chief Tim and Joe, there are certainly savings within the part-time and overtime salary lines that would leave that deficit probably in the $10,000 to $15,000 range. And in discussions with the finance director, we feel like that's easily covered within the general fund. With that, I would be happy to turn it over to Joe. Have him answer questions.
Like I spoke to the last the last council with you, the reason we're doing this is because we're critically understaffed. We need 4 guys on that engine. And the only way we can do that, physically responsible to do that, is to do away with deputy chief positions and restructure. We have too many chiefs and not enough Indians. So my thoughts were do away with my position, deputy chief of ops, become assistant chief. We made the fire marshal. The fire marshal is no longer a deputy chief. So that clears up the financials for the guys on the truck. It's important for the guys on the truck is because it's a 2-in, 2-out. Anytime we catch a structure fire or something, legally, we're not supposed to go into that fire unless we have 2 guys out. So if 2 guys go in, 2 out, we can't do that right now. We can do that if it's a life safety measure, or if we know there's somebody in there, we can start to prevent that and know we get our justification. But that's too far right now. We've got guys that are, right now they're stressed out because they're trying to do work with 4 guys or 3 guys. So that's creating overall problems. So that's what we're trying to address then. But also, we're trying to get ownership back to these guys because they are the core of the fire department. So if I can get a fourth guy on that engine, which means hiring 3 additional guys, that will do that. Our service will continue like it is now. I mean, we're doing a really, really good job. And that will continue regardless of what your situation is or what your decision is. That situation will help us to get that one guy.
I move to direct the city manager to amend the fire department staff instruction from 3-man engine crew to a 4-man engine crew and authorize the reallocation of expenditures within the general fund.
Second.
Any discussion, any questions? All in favor?
Mayor and Council, I'm pleased to announce as part of this formal appointment of Joe Adams. And I'll ask Barb to come up and give me a hand here. You guys need to do this for the photo here.
Exactly. It's a photo op. You're good. No. You're good.
Thank you so much.
Seven point three, discussion and consider award bid to ASD contractors for the hostess house rehabilitation in the amount of $212,950.
Mayor and Council, this item was discussed in workshop. We haven't answered any questions.
I make a motion to award the bid to ASD contractors for the rehabilitation of the hostess house in the amount not to exceed $2,212,950 for the hostess house rehabilitation.
Second. You have a second? Any discussion?
Then in regards to, changes to the plans, we kind of discussed that a little bit, but there's certain things on the plans that may or may not go the way that we want to, or some things that maybe aren't really feasible. As far as renovation goes, certain things that maybe we found a little bit later that weren't necessarily discovered, or, something that we might find.
Yes.
We want to make change. How do we go about that?
So the first thing we would do is do it within the pre-construction phase, and particularly the pre-construction conference. We would talk to that GC about those changes, generally referred to as value engineering, but we would look for savings in those line items. I think as Kimberly suggested, we do have some protection, albeit not a whole lot in terms of additions in a $105,000 contingency line. On a $2.2 million project, I mean, that could be one item. But we want to try to eliminate all of the unknowns in as much as we can with the plan set, as well as by talking to the contractor ahead of time. So yes, that is the path we will take.
Could you reiterate, originally on this project, approximately what was the value on the initial bid that everybody freaked out about?
Yeah, we had base bid and add alternates. The highest, and again, I don't have the numbers in front of me.
Off the top of your head.
Yeah, but the numbers on the highest bid, including the add alternates, is on the order of 3.4. I believe there was a bid of 3. There were only 2 bids.
The other one, I believe, was 3.2. That was all in, add alternates included, but then the base bids were sub 3, but not by much. One of them was above and one of them was below 3 million.
So by making the changes that the council has done so far, we see a significant cost savings. I mean,
Yes.
I mean, within the constraints of inflation.
Yes, you have. But at the same time, I think even in this scope that we had put together, I think there's still real value in that. We've got a restroom upstairs where we didn't have before. We still have some storage, albeit shortened. We don't have quite the push out to the east as we had before. We still have to have a little push out for elevator shafts, et cetera. But what I'm saying is I think you're not giving up everything. There's still some value within the scope that we put together.
What department manages the contractor on this project?
So we will probably utilize Mike Blair, who's done a lot of our civil inspection and construction logs. Be Mike Blair, but I think it'll also be a combination of people coming in and out, myself included, on a daily basis, as well as probably Chris Eicher. I think the person that will keep the construction log will probably be Mike Blair.
Was there any time frame that was set? Was it 6 months, a year?
The contract time is 180 days. It's 180 days from notice to proceed. We do not issue notice to proceed until we can hopefully clean up any contract items, and obviously, we certainly won't issue any notice to proceed without getting payment and performance bond as well as there.
And how about from the time that they start to the time that we complete?
180 days.
So 180 days till completion.
What, from the notice, from the notice to proceed.
Okay.
And we got some feedback from a couple of contractors that I think it was originally 140 days, and they felt like that was real tight. Plus, we had a fairly, arguably kind of a substantial LQ, or LDs on liquidated damages. I believe it was $500 a day, and they felt like, so we made a change, an addendum to the bid to go to 180 days, which they felt more comfortable with.
It's not really energy, but.
No. No, sir.
That's how they run.
I'm a little worried about the contingencies not being high enough. It's only 4.5%, a little good.
Correct. So I think you can minimize some of the contingencies with the quality of your plan set, obviously. For example, this building, we had two or three change orders that were fairly minor because we had a good plan set and we had a good GC. The GC pointed out things before it was even went to bid that we were able to address. So I'm hopeful that we had a good plan set. I think the bidding bullseye was reasonably tight. We had a couple that were right at 2.4 million, so that's just to me that the plan set was fairly good. Had one low, one high, but you're opening up walls and getting in crawl spaces, and things will come up.
105 should go.
It could be one item. Yes, sir.
All right, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
7.4, discussion of possible action regarding the Go to Texas Barbecue Cook-Off and Concert, October 11th, October 12th, 2024, at the 580 Sports Complex.
Mayor and council, how are you all this evening? Yes, I'm here on behalf of Lampasas County Area Go Texan. This is our 6th annual barbecue cook-off. 4 of them have been here at the 580 complex, and 2 of them have been in Oneida. It is set for the second weekend in October. I don't know for any of you that don't know about Lampasas Area Go Texan. We were established between 2013 and 2014. I am the last original board member, committee member. It's dear to my heart because it's about the kids. And so our main goal here is to raise money for fundraising so that we can give local scholarships. Our first year, we were able to give a couple of $500 scholarships. And I'm excited to say we're giving $10,000 this year. 3 of them will be into Lampasas and 2 more in Illinois. And then, of course, Houston is our big beneficiary. In the 10 years we've been here, Houston's given $216,000 to this community. So that's kind of my go-to stay, keep this going, and so that we can bring that kind of money in. The last 2 years, we've received $40,000 instead of $20,000. So we were awarded additional scholarships. So that being said, we are having a cook-off. We have changed our sanctioning group to CDA this year versus Lone Star. We were finding more membership and or attendance in CDA versus Lone Star. And so we have changed our sanctioning group. It's still Friday and Saturday. This year we would like to kind of incorporate back in just a small concert. It's the Western Playboys. They are a small group out of Bertram. They opened up for us last year when we had our street dance. Play 7 to 10 on Saturday evening, kind of after we wrap up. For any of the cookers that wanted to stay or anyone that wanted to come out and participate and be tasters or judges, then we have something for them to do that evening. So would appreciate your approval.
I had a question, if it's okay before we make a motion, because last year, it was brought to your attention that this was the same weekend that Lampasas had their boots and blazers, and you said everything will be fine because we're wrapped up before Saturday night, we won't conflict, but now this year, same thing's happening, and you're having a concert and competition or at the same time.
We've always had ours on the second weekend. Somewhere along the way, Boots and Blazers changed theirs to the second weekend. Ours has always been scheduled. We schedule it the second Friday and Saturday of October.
Right, but you haven't always had a concert.
We had it 2 years ago. This year, they just wanted to, the committee wanted to bring something extra to it, trying to build on it is what they're trying to do. And so, my personal opinion, I made it to Boots and Blazers. I went last year because we didn't have anything else. A lot of the individuals that are out there are not individuals that are going to go to Boots and Blazers. We're hoping to recruit more people from out of town. Yes, we like to have locals, but I guess our attendance is not interfering with Boots and Blazers.
I make a motion to approve the use of 580 Sports Complex for annual Lampasas County Area Go Texas Barbecue Kickoff and concert to be held on October 11th and 12th, 2024.
Second.
More discussion? All in favor?
Opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you. 7.5, discuss and consider directions to staff to prepare an agreement by and between Wings Vehicles and the city of Lampasas for use in New Hope Baptist Church and the historic color scheme.
Mayor and Council, this is discussed in a workshop. Staff would be happy to take any direction from council, and lack of direction is also direction.
That's in my action.
I'm not gonna make any motion over there, just pass.
So the table at this time?
No table.
No table? No, right.
Mayor and Council, if you would oblige me as well, I didn't have the numbers at my fingertips, of course Becky did, but I do have the previous bids for the hostess house that I'll hand you guys and circulate these. Base bids were 2.9 and 3.3. Base bid plus add alternates were 3.4 and 4.
Really nice.
Seven point six, discussion possible action to appoint Christy May to the Library Advisory Board to fill the vacancy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You may recall that we had a vacancy where Cheryl Osman has, basically she's retired from the board, she's been on it for several years. So at this time they had a vacancy and we had an applicant, Christy May. So the library board met and they wanted to go ahead and appoint her to fill that vacancy.
I move to appoint Christine May to the library advisory board.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you very much.
7.7, discussion and possible action to approve the first reading of an ordinance correcting the verbiage in ordinance 920 adopted by City Council in December 2000 that abandoned portion of West Avenue A between Block 1, Lot 9 and 10, Block 2, Lot 4 and 5 in the Fairview Edition.
Mayor and council, this item was discussed during public hearing, and I am asking consideration of approval of the first reading of an ordinance to correct the description of the abandoned portion of West Avenue A between Block 1, Lots 9 and 10, Block 2, Lots 4 and 5, and the Fairview Edition that was originally adopted in December of 2000. Again, this is just removing park and adding Fairview.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
7.8, discussion and possible action regarding the agreement between the City of Lampasas and M&S Engineering for the standby generator design project in an amount not to exceed $35,000.
Thank you again, Mayor and Council. This actually is for generation, and we've had this discussion, I know, over the last probably year. The intent of this project is really to give redundancy back up to our critical infrastructure, which is the wastewater treatment plant, our Spring Street pump station, and the animal shelter to ensure that we're providing power to keep those things running. We had, just to give you a quick background again, Schneider Electric had gotten the proposal the first time. We went ahead and officially canceled that contract since there was no response back. We got a kind of a preliminary bid package from them. This is a deliverable that we're working with M&S to come back with this proposal. Council's directive to staff was see what we can work through with M&S Engineering. They've done a good job for us out here at the business park and some of our other electrical design needs. And they were willing to work with us. So what you're looking at for the $35,000 not to exceed is covered under the summary statement and the survey and electrical design as well as the deliverables. So it basically breaks down design and then what the handoff will be to the city so that we can then go out for bids. Basically, the construction, administration, oversight was removed out of this. There's a separate proposal for that. At such time that staff, as we get into this, feel like there might be some needs for whether that's inspection or generator startup at some point once it's constructed. We're having somebody look at certain aspects of the electrical system that it's tied to. So there is an opportunity for us to come back to you with that proposal if we get to that point where we feel like we do need that. We're lucky enough to have really good staff. Our electric department very well versed in a lot of those things. They manage our generator at City Hall now. They do some maintenance and they do the testing, but again, might want to consider some engineering down the line. But this proposal specifically for just the engineer design, deliverables, doing the survey, and then they hand off to us as a city to go out for bids. And just so that you know, I think last time the whole package was, I think, not to exceed 70,000. So they basically took the construction piece out, and then the engineering and split that 35,000.
Remind me last time we asked you to come back with this, right?
Not to exceed 30,000 was the request.
We'll make a motion to approve the Lampasas standby generator engineering design by L&S Engineering for the wastewater treatment plant, Spring Street pump station, and the animal shelter in an amount not to exceed $35,000 to be funded with American Rescue Plan Act funds.
Second. Any discussion?
Yes. So will with this, with our last motion to not exceed 30,000, so it's really just an additional 5,000 we're approving, rather than an additional 35,000, just to clarify that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Good, man.
Where do we plan on getting our generator, ATS and switchgear from?
Our hope is, once they put all the specs together on that, there are companies that have almost new generators. Our hope was to go out for those companies that are on buy board where we can purchase those generators and switches and those types of things to save costs or at least reduce costs.
You believe it's still possible to get it cheaper than 70,000 the original bid, please?
On the engineering fees,
Engineering, total package, the switchgear, ATS generator.
as far as design goes, it's hard to say. If you look at the rate schedules for a lot of these engineers, it's all based on their time. So at the end of the day, even though it says not to exceed 35,000, depending on what's needed to be, actually engineered, there should be some reduced costs. I hope. We've shared some of the information that we did receive back from Snyder, which I'm hoping will take some of those costs down, where they're basically checking sizing, looking at the generators themselves on, will this fit, the actual design need for the facility.
So I guess my main point is, since we didn't do the 70,000 last time, put a whole package out for a price.
Right.
We're kind of taking the chance or gamble of getting it below 70,000 by breaking it up the way we're doing it, doing $35,000 design fee, engineering fee, plus having to go back out for bid on the construction of it and the equipment.
So let me make sure I'm understanding this right. So the 35,000 here proposal is to do all the design engineering and hand the city over a package that we can then go out to bid. The other piece that was taken out, which is the contract administration piece, is specifically if we were to need that, we could come back and we could, if we just want inspection from this company, or if we want day-to-day oversight, depending on what you're requesting, again, it would be a not to exceed limit if we felt like, hey, we might need those services, because there are some things that some of the engineering firms provide that obviously we can't do in-house, without a PE, but.
So the piece we took out didn't include the equipment, it just included the construction.
Correct. The equipment, I apologize, the equipment was never included. This was just for design and construction and admin construction originally. Yeah, the generators. I'm sorry.
Like, it's a couple 100,000 generators.
Yeah, I think we had 450,000 set aside ARPA funding for that specifically.
Okay. And we're thinking that we can, once we get this plan back, we can do the construction in-house, or is it going to go out for bid?
We'll go out for bid. So we'll take this design and we'll put it out for bid. So what happened in the past is, originally, we thought one of the electrical companies could build this out for us. We could say, they could come and say, hey, you need these generators. Well, then the cost became more of a competitive cost where you're going to have to go out for bids, because depending on where the pad layout is and how much conduit and electrical conductors in that, the cost significantly goes up or goes down. And so we wanted to make sure everybody bidding on it. That was the feedback we got originally when we tried to kind of, hey, give us what you think this would cost. Give us an estimate, without having plans. Kind of goes back to what the hostess house is. It's hard to know if you don't, if somebody hadn't looked inside those electrical cabinets, switches, all the things that they're going to tie into for the system, just to make sure, it's engineered accordingly.
Anything else? All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you. And at this time, we'll move into executive session, 8.1, section 551.808, economic development. One, receive and evaluate financial information received from a business prospect discuss same and or to deliberate commercial or financial information that the city received from a business prospect that seeks to have local, state, or expand in or near the city, within the city, to conduct an economic development negotiation, and or two, to deliberate and offer of any financial other incentives, any business prospects described above. Section 551.086, relating to the authority of public power utilities governing bodies to deliberate regarding matters utility. 8.3, section 551.074, personnel matters to deliberate employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties of city manager, and other personnel matters as allowed by Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Adjourn executive session, reconvene open session.
Move to go to executive session.
Second.
That's the Ryan Ward, we also included in executive session.
Executive meeting, for the council. So we will
Make a motion to adjourn.
thank you.
Second.
All in favor?